So welcome back to another episode. I'm Luke 10 and I'm joined today by my colleague Gareth Bale. Gareth, say hi in your famous Welsh accent.
Hello everyone. Of course it's not Gareth Bale, it's Luke 1.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
There's no Gareth Bale, unfortunately. He did say he was interested in joining us, but just a little bit too busy at the moment with his retirement.
Too much golf.
That's it. How have you been anyway? You been good?
I've been good. I've been enjoying your, you don't know where this is going, do you? I've been enjoying your voice because it's now with your new microphone. I don't know if people have noticed the last couple of episodes. Luke 1 started to sound better, more crisp and ASMR-like.
Not great, but yeah, I think that's my vocal cords to blame, to be honest. But yeah, I did a little upgrade, and we've got a slightly better microphone now, so hopefully that helps with your ear pleasure and it's not all Luke 10 giving you ASMR vibes. Before we do our shout outs, I want to shout out to every single one of you who has pressed play and had us in your headphones or in your car audio or coming out of your iPad or whatever it is, because I think we're both blown away. We've cleared 500 unique downloads in under 2 months, which to be honest is unbelievable. And some of the locations we've had downloads in, amazing as well. I think we covered that on the previous episode, but there's been a few new countries pop up as well. I think we've hit the Turkish Federation, Russian motherland, all sorts. So yeah, it's good to get worldwide coverage, isn't it?
Yeah, and just think kind of I don't know much about maths, but if each of the listeners kind of gave us a quid, we'd be millionaires by now, if you think of it that way. So again, send us money. Our email address, if you want to get in touch to get our bank details, is the number 2, so 2 Lukes, number 1 sip at gmail.com. That's 2 Lukes 1 sip at gmail.com.
It doesn't sound so professional when you say it out loud, does it?
No, but at least it makes us laugh.
Yeah, I think, look, we don't want you to send us £1. I think what we would love is for you to smash the like, the subscribe, the the comments, bit of feedback, anything. We just love you to get in touch. We love hearing what you guys have to say. And I think, yeah, we've had some reviews on certain platforms. It's been great. Well, some of them are great. And yeah, that's really what we could ask you to do, if that's okay.
We do have the Reddit as well, Reddit channel. If you search Let's Talk Procurement on Reddit, that's kind of wanted somewhere to collate all the views of people listening across different platforms. So join the Reddit, probably be on the socials somewhere. But yeah, if you want to kind of get in touch with us, that's the email we said before. And if you feel like your friend should know about this episode, then send it to them, but only send if it's a bad episode. Because if you think about it this way, if you send your friend a bad podcast and they listen to it, then they tell you, oh, it's great, they're not a real friend. It's a great podcast, it's not a real friend if they say that. Whereas if you send them a bad podcast like ours and they tell you, oh, this is awful, they're a real friend and they're going to have your back through thick and thin.
Okay, yeah, we'll roll with your logic. Something tells me you still haven't sat a SIPS exam since we started this, and
maybe not.
Yeah, I've got a feeling I'm correct there. So, well, there's exam season coming up, isn't it? So I'm sure you'll get booked into one, and it'll be good to interview you pre-exam, and then maybe half time, and then maybe full time when the whistle goes. Yeah,
what I'll do is I'll take a quick toilet break. During the exam, I'll give you a call and we'll record a podcast, right?
Well, you might not be allowed your phone, so if I'll have a shit in the cubicle next to you. But if I'm doing that for, let's say, 10, 15 minutes, if I'm doing that for the whole duration of the exam, you can pop in, cubicle next to me. I'll slide a microphone underneath, and we can get out to the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the type of videos we want to start, or podcasts we want to start making, then why not? I'm up for that. Anything that gets us money sounds good to me.
Right, this money focus needs to stop, man. I mean, the money would be nice, but it's not the sole purpose, is it?
Isn't it?
No, well, if you want money, mate, just pass your exams.
shout out to our MSIPs or Is MSIPs Worth It episode, where we say how much extra you can get for doing MSIPs.
Yeah, interesting insights. I think that leads us quite nicely onto today's topic, actually. Stay tuned, by the way, everyone. Stay tuned for the last 5 minutes of the episode where we cover our listeners' Hall of Fame. So we may have a new induction. We might not, but stay tuned. Are you going to be joining us in, or are you going to be joining Alison and Rob in the Hall of Fame? So today's episode. Yeah, today's episode, forgot to go back to that point. Today's episode is looking at some frequently asked questions around procurement as a profession. So we've done a bit of research, done some analytics, looked at some numbers, crunched some words, and churned out a few quite commonly asked questions around the world of procurement, and hope that we can give you guys some insights and kind of some perspective as to how we feel we can answer them. Shag me, daddy. Woo-hoo.
Hey, yo, what the
What questions have you come up with?
So the first question, that seems to be quite a popular one, is can procurement work from home?
Oh, is this meant to be a one-word answer?
Well, no, if you want to give a bit of insight to your experience, you can. I mean, you could give it one word if you want to just make this a short episode.
So my thoughts are yes. But also, it depends on the person. I wouldn't say there's necessarily any difference between working at home in procurement and working at home in other kind of jobs. That said, I do think it is really important to go out and meet your stakeholders, even if that's just like you arrange a day in the office, or you go to suppliers base, I don't know, once a quarter or something, or even just once, just to see them. Internal stakeholders, you probably want to meet more frequently, especially the ones that you're working with more often. Maybe if it's like the CEO of your kind of area, or someone who's really important in your category, whatever you're buying, you probably want to see them quite frequently in person. But I think in terms of the day-to-day job, it's fine for you to be able to do that at home.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's perfectly manageable from home. I think it's like, you could do the job 5 days a week in the office or 5 days a week at home. However, exactly as you're saying, Luke, I think the blended approach is the best approach, because you want the suppliers to be knowing who you are. So you might be supplier visits, it might be suppliers come, it's your stakeholder meetings and all of that good stuff. So certainly do think having a mixed bag is how you would get the best results as a procurement professional. Because remember, a lot of negotiations, you kind of get a lot of cues from the non-verbal movements from people, little body twitches, things like that might give away stuff that you can't necessarily tell from a phone call.
Do you think James Bond would be good at procurement? Because I'm thinking of, is it Casino Royale, where he plays that poker game, and he has to find out what that guy's tell is. This is the worst film review ever of Casino Royale. But yeah, do you think he'd be good in procurement?
I mean, what can't James Bond do? I think I'd be worried that he would do a bit of a John Terry and start coming after my wife. But he loves a little bun girl. But other than that, I think he would do a sterling job. He's got the looks, the muscles to kind of get what he wants in a negotiation. Obviously, he's got his 9mm if he needs it. And all round, he's just a pinnacle of being a bloke, isn't he?
Yeah, I like that. Which leads me on in a nice segment to another question.
Okay.
Are procurement and supply chain the same?
Do you want a one-word answer? That's what you asked me.
Do both?
No. So the short answer is no. There is definitely overlap. Supply chain. So if you're in procurement, you have involvement in the supply chain. You control elements or parts of the supply chain. Supply chain itself is actually the suppliers who might be your suppliers, and then you might have their suppliers, and then you might have their suppliers, and you get kind of like a supply chain train, if you like to think of it like that.
Tiers, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Tiers, upstream, downstream, all of that good stuff. And quite often if you're a category manager or a buyer, you might be for a specific part of your supply chain. You could be, I don't know, you could be the purchaser for footballs. I mean, in which case you want to be talking to your football making manufacturer and maybe the leather manufacturer, and then whoever they've got doing the branding that goes onto it and all of that stuff. And that might be your specific supply chain. Procurement as itself, I think, is more of a higher level description of probably what procurement professionals will do. So it kind of incorporates supply chain, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Could there be some procurement professionals that have a heavy focus on supply chain and some that don't? Like, is it kind of varied between company?
Yeah, absolutely. Some companies don't actually have a big supply chain. They might have one or two core suppliers, and quite equally it depends on where the company you're working for sits. So if I'm working for a mining company, I kind of probably am the bottom of the supply chain in one extent, because I'm extracting the raw materials, and then all I do need is things like maybe diggers and stuff like that. But ultimately, are you all right, mate?
I was about to sneeze. I was trying to hold a sneeze off.
Did the sock go up your nose?
Maybe.
Yeah, for those who can't see, because obviously we're not publishing the video of these yet, Luke Ten has covered his microphone with a sock to muffle the sound a bit better, because apparently his breathing is too erotic for certain listeners.
Yeah,
Victoria.
we did get that as a bit of feedback, didn't we, from a couple of people that they weren't able to listen in public.
So do you think does that answer your question? Just that in a loose way?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good answer.
An interesting question that's been searched up a few times is when is Procurement Day? Now, doing all the crunching and the analytics and everything, I was kind of surprised to see this question be quite frequently asked. And if I'm being honest, I hadn't heard of Procurement Day. Had you?
Is it the 31st of May?
No.
Is it the 31st of April?
No, it's actually March the 21st. But it's World Procurement Day. The first ever World Procurement Day apparently was spring 2022. But that didn't quite work, so they made another one, March 21st, 2023.
It's not like us to have delays, is it?
Nah,
like us to push things back.
Yeah, that's it. But they had apparently more than 6,000 procurement professionals from all over the world gathered together to discuss sustainable procurement challenges. So, to be honest, I'm a bit pissed off we didn't get our invitation.
6,000 got invited. How many of them fell asleep before the end of the talk?
Well, this is why we started the pod, isn't it? Help them fall asleep faster.
Yeah, very true. Here, pleasure. So basically, what we're trying to say is on the 21st of March. Put it in your calendars now. We're going to kind of promote this. If we haven't heard of it, then it means it doesn't exist in the real world, doesn't it? So now we've heard of it, we're gonna make this a thing every year.
Yeah, and it stems from sustainability. So it's actually World Sustainable Procurement Day, and cover topics that we all love, like child labour. That sounds a bit weird. We don't love child labour. Child labour, forced labour, supplier diversity, equality and inclusion, living wages, things like that.
I'm so glad you clarified that.
Yeah, I don't want any confusion, mate. So yeah, there is a Procurement Day. It feels like it's a very new thing, and we'll see how it goes this year. Cool.
So next question, maybe off the back of that one as well. How can procurement add value?
That's a seismic question, that, isn't it?
I know, and I'm interested to know myself, because I think sometimes, well, if I just ask you the question and then completely railroad it and offer my thoughts first anyway, I find it difficult sometimes to feel personally like I'm adding value. Because, yeah, I know. Play some sad music in the background. Because I feel like we are quite often seen as like a approval function, or like a policing sort of team that kind of is there to stop things happening. And I think if we were maybe like involved earlier, or people knew more about what benefits we could bring, then they could involve us in the right parts of the process. But when we're involved right at the end, when someone's saying, oh, I've been to this specific supplier and I've got this contract, all I just need is a signature, doesn't really feel like I can add much value in those cases.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. What is value, in your opinion?
That's a good question. Maybe it would be something like, I have to think now, we'll cut out the silence. It would just be an immediate.
Yeah, cut out the silence and you just get a spot on, almost Google red answer.
Google, what is
instantly.
value?
I think it's, look,
Oh.
I'll help you out a little bit, right? So the word value gets thrown around quite a lot, and where can procurement add value is probably more saying, well, what do procurement do? Because we don't understand, not necessarily how do procurement add value. Because if I'm a business manager, value might look different to if I'm someone in the legal team, or if I'm, so value has its various different meanings to different functions. However, to a business itself, value is all around helping the company meet its goals. So shout out to the last episode, the triple bottom line, effectively very profit centric, but also people and planet, right? So how can procurement, or us as individuals, add value, i.e. how can we improve the profitability, or how can we help our employer with its sustainability objectives, or with its environmental impact and things like that. So forget about what the bid manager says, or what the people in the teams, your stakeholders might say about what is the actual value. You're just taking longer to get something over the line that I could go and buy myself. Your actual value is, well, look, you've driven down the cost basis, so now you are actually helping our P&L. We've got savings that are beneficial, tangible. We might have agreed a rebate, so that's cash back in the pocket of the company. So in doing that, the shareholders and the senior management are happy, because obviously it looks better on the books and better on the kind of profit targets that they have. And that's a direct monetary bit of value that we add in procurement. But then equally, are we contracted with XYZ who are effectively better for the environment? So let's say we're using, I don't know, plastic. No, we're not using plastic cups. We're using cardboard cups in our canteen now, right? Simple bit of procurement. And yes, it might take you a little bit longer to do your analysis and find the best cardboard cup supplier. But the value you are adding is that your employer now has a bit more of a reputation as a sustainable outfit, right?
Yeah, and I think as well, sometimes, obviously that's me being cynical, but sometimes, for example, one of the things that we do that isn't often seen as valuable, but I think is making sure we've got the right protections in the contract.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people think it's a case of, oh, we'll just go with this company because we trust them. It's like, well, if it all comes down to it, trust doesn't really mean much in terms of the law. So we need to make sure that we have the right provisions in the contract to be able to kind of get what we need to get in certain situations.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news, but there's basically a car scandal that's kind of been revealed where car saleswomen were incentivized to charge customers more interest rate when they are applying for a hire purchase, or I don't know what the other one is. Do you remember the other one? Hire purchase and a...
I mean, like car finance, when I can't remember what it was.
So yeah, effectively they would they'll put your details in the system, do a quick credit search on you, and let's say it says, oh well, Luke can borrow £5,000 and the interest rate we would offer is 5%. Actually, however, Mr. Salesman, you will get more commission if you offer Luke £5,000 at 10%, right? So the salesman's incentive is he's going to get more commission by charging you more for the car in the form of an interest rate. And I think it was called a discretionary sales charge or something like that, in the form of added interest. And all these people have been negotiating on the hard price of the car and then getting stumped with the interest rate, which nobody knew was negotiable. So all the customers have been mugged off. And that's now come to light, and there's going to be lots of fines. And I think a lot of leasing companies are going to have to, or finance companies are going to have to make good on the payments. But that just goes to show the kind of the importance of being able to read the terms and conditions and actually not be afraid to challenge them, because there may well be examples out there where people have gone and challenged, their hire car contract or whatever, but it's few and far between.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's good. Good point.
Right. Have we got time for another question? What skills do you need for a career in procurement?
The first one that came into my head was confidence. That was just like, as soon as you said that, that's what made me think. Just, I feel like it's kind of like a balance of confidence without being arrogant, because you need to be able to kind of have tough conversations with people, negotiations, internally and externally, around a whole number of different things. You might not be 100% confident on the technical side of the contract, but you still need to be kind of in and amongst a team of people. You're often, sometimes on your own as a procurement person. You're going into, I don't know, suppliers' offices to negotiate with them when there's other people that aren't in your procurement team, or there's a project team internally that you're going into. You're the only procurement person there, so I feel like you need to have confidence to be able to go into those sort of situations.
I mean, that's a good point. I think that closely links to at least having an interest in negotiation and understanding the different scenarios that you will find yourself in. Because yes, confidence is great, and being confident in most situations will improve your outcome. But it's about knowing, if you're in a supplier meeting and you've got 3 people from the same company next to you, how do you know if your colleagues? Well, your colleagues probably don't have the same incentive as you do. So it's about understanding that, managing it, and that kind of links to confidence and stakeholder management and things like that. So,
exactly what I was going to bring up next. I think stakeholder relations is something that's also very important. And I think you're someone, if I talk about you personally, you're someone who's quite good at stakeholder relationship. Stakeholder engagement, I suppose, is the better way to phrase it. So do you want to give us some advice on that?
Oh, right. Thank you. I mean, you just said you didn't give me any evidence for that, but just kind of threw it back to me. That's a very politician.
It's hard to give evidence on something intangible sort of skill, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to kind of what makes it good, I think, is, to be honest, is just being yourself. I think everybody sometimes is so wrapped up around what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do, what's my ambition or my goal, or or maybe what I say might upset a manager or might upset someone else. Well, actually, if you're doing something for the best reason and with kind of, I guess, pure intent, I think that actually goes a long way. So sometimes even having the difficult conversations, if you have to say it, just say it. And it's like, you don't have to be blunt or rude about it, but you've just got to be kind of conscious and aware of the people around you and kind of how you're gonna just be yourself in that situation. Because obviously we all find it, I guess some of us find it easier to be angry, some of us find it easy to be passive and mellow, some of us find it easy just to be kind of the center of attention. We've all got those different skill sets, but I think it's just recognizing where you are on that scale. So let's say you're quite passive and introverted, that's perfectly fine, and actually that is just as good as someone who's in the middle of the room, center of attention, and trying to manage their stakeholders that way. And actually don't try and be someone you're not, just be who you're comfortable being, and then I think that will help you with your kind of stakeholder development.
Yeah, no, that's some really good advice. They always say have a list of 3, don't they? So have you got one more skill in procurement, or what's going back to your original question?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, the skills in procurement. I think you've got to have an interest in challenges. I think liking a challenge is something. I think if you like a challenge, because you're looking at, let's say, a contract, and you're looking at a business need, you want to take on that challenge of actually, well, is that supplier giving me the best price? Is it the best value for money? Yes, I'm going to be a bit of a pain in the backside to someone, but I want to tackle this head on, and just having that. It's like a slight interest in just being able to go and source the best deal and kind of understand why you're doing it, and actually feeling that you are doing the right thing. And I quite often use the analogy. I think I've said it in a previous episode, but I don't even know if it's an analogy actually. But I quite often say that we are the opposite of salespeople. So sales will literally try and sell you, snow to an Eskimo, as they say, and they'll charge maximum price for it. Whereas in procurement, we're trying to buy it for as cheap as possible if we need it. If we don't need it, we're trying to stop people buying it. So the only difference is often we don't get fat commissions like the salespeople. But I think it's a challenge to be able to kind of almost be a defense against the sales guys and reduce their commissions and do it to help our P&L.
Yeah, and I guess having said the three skills that we've had, just say for example you've got 2 out of 3 or you've got 1 out of 3, doesn't mean that you're not going to be good in procurement. These are things that are able to pick up on as you get more experience. Absolutely. You'll grow in confidence as you have more stakeholders. You'll be able to manage them. You'll know what works for who, etc. So if you're quiet and if you hate people, maybe it's not for you, but maybe it is. We're not going to say that.
Well, to be honest,
prove us wrong.
Channel your hate towards salespeople, and then that way you'll be the best buyer there is in town. So I actually think it's quite, and people may not agree with this, but I think it's actually quite a satisfying or rewarding job to be in. What I mean by that is that actually you are impacting a P&L, you are developing your skills. So from a kind of selfish perspective, you get legal experience. You start to look at contracts and improve your knowledge of how they work. You get commercial experience in the negotiations, trying to formulate the best price and the best deals. And then obviously you get the supplier exposure. So you're speaking to a whole different array of suppliers. And that could be, maybe you're helping an SME with its diversity or with its setting up and doing a lot of good work to bring the smaller companies into a new business environment. Or maybe you're working with, massive brands. And if you're working with massive brands, that's great. You could be the person who strikes a deal with Tesco's or something like that. And it's a multi-million-pound deal. And actually that's quite good, isn't it? It's quite a good thing to say you've done. So yeah, I know you might not agree with that, but that's kind of, I do think it is quite rewarding.
No, I think that's a really good point, and it's a good point to leave it on. So
the Hall of Fame, mate. Do you want to just? So have you got any recommendations? Let's moving on to our Hall of Fame. Have you got any recommendations for people you might want to submit, or have you got any new procurement movie or film stars lined up?
I'm gonna offer sort of like Willy Wonka golden ticket. I'm gonna offer a chance for listeners to buy their way into the Hall of Fame. So anyone who sends us a £5 or more, we are that desperate. A £5 or more direct into our bank accounts. Then you can, the first 5 people that do that will be in the Hall of Fame. So do it quickly, get in the Hall of Fame, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. That's what you get for a £5. Great deal.
That's your shout out. We do have a buy me a coffee page on our website if you do fancy doing that. I don't know who would be crazy enough to do that, but we'll have you indicted on our list of listeners Hall of Fame. But I was going to suggest the beautiful Denise. Not sure if you remember her from a previous episode.
No. Who is that? I don't know who that is.
I think she's the lady who unfortunately spent one day giving birth to you. And she's a hero just for doing that. I think she should be on every Hall of Fame. However, I think she's been passing the pod, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's gone into a proud listener mode and has decided to share your wonderful voice alongside my Tin Pot voice with her network.
Yes, Luke is right. She put the podcast into our family group chat, and it kind of embarrassed me a little bit. I suppose more listeners the better, but yeah, I just want to. I was a bit surprised by that. It came out of nowhere, but Thanks,
Just left
Mum.
field.
Thanks, Mum, for telling the family about the podcast.
Yeah, so it was very nice of you to do that. Really appreciate that. And to be honest, I know you're hating the fact that your own mother's going to be on the Hall of Fame, but I think she's earned her place there.
Yeah, it's deserved.
I think it's fair.
I'll give her that. Yeah.
And if you do still want to buy your place on the Hall of Fame alongside Denise and Alison, you're more than welcome to. But I think it goes to Denise this week. And if you've got any stories or you want to reach out for your chance to join our Hall of Fame, get in touch. But I think we'll leave it there. Have you got any wonderful dilemmas for our listeners?
Yeah.
To wrap up?
I've also, on a tangent that probably won't end up in the final edit.
Nope.
I found this bottle of Febreze next to me on my desk.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was Febreze, and this one says Febreze.
Oh, like Fabrizio Romano.
Febreze. I don't know if it's a fake Lidl. I do like to do shopping at Lidl, so it might be a fake Lidl version.
It could be, yeah. They've just moved the accent from one E to the other. Move the accent. It's a different word.
Anyway, right now back into the pod. We got that bit out.
Nah, leave that in. If you like Lidl.
If you like reindeer meat from Lidl, don't send this to someone. If you like anything else, then do send it to someone.
Nice one. I'll see you later.
See you later.